welcome back to the channel. Now in this video we are going to play around with Unity and create our very first project. This video does assume a couple of things. One is that you have the Unity installed, second you have the virtual studio set up, and third you have at least one asset prefab image that you can use for as a sprite, as it is called in Unity. If you don't have a sprite, please go and see my last video about creating an arrow. This I'm going to use a slightly advanced version of that arrow in this video. So yes, assuming you have the Unity installed, go ahead and open it. You will see a screen like this. Now I've got a lot of projects ready. What you will need to do is, once you have set up Unity, click on new project. We will be building a 2D mobile game. There are different options including 2D mobile, but go ahead and select 2D core for a couple of reasons. I found that it's much easier to build once you're testing it. It's lighter, so yeah, it works the best. Go ahead and select it. What I'm going to go ahead and build is arrow launcher project. So go ahead and name your project arrow launcher. Okay, I already built it. So let's call it arrow shooter. All right, and next go ahead and click on create project. Now Unity does take a little bit of time to load, so I'm going to pause the video here and I'll see you when the Unity is loaded. Okay, perfect. So hopefully you have something like this loaded. You have got your sample screen and the main camera. This is the camera. One thing to be mindful of is that this option here on the top right is enabled. It allows you to view different gizmos. If it's not enabled, then you won't be able to see the center of mass, center of spring joints, things like those, and outline of a prefab, and that becomes an issue. So make sure that this is turned on. Now what we are going to do is add an asset to it, which is called a sprite. So I have got two assets here. One is called an arrow. Let's go ahead and add that. Next, move the arrow to this area. In this hierarchy you have got different objects. You have to move it here so that it becomes a part of your scene. So there you have it. You have the arrow in there. Now next, this is facing upwards. I want my arrow to be facing towards the right, so I'm going to go ahead and on the right where you see transform, you can see different options including rotation. For some reason the rotation that you need is going to be along the z-axis, so go ahead and enter 270 in z, and there you go, your arrow is facing towards the right. Next, this arrow is taking too much of the screen. I want it to take a smaller area, so let's make it about half the space, like 0 0.5, 0.5 and 0.5. Okay, much better. Now let's move it to the bottom. You can press W if I remember correctly. Arrow W. Yes, you will see an arrow showing you the y-axis and the x-axis. Go ahead and click on this box here and drag it to the left. Now you can see that this is called a sprite and it's being rendered. It's called a sprite renderer, but you have other options as well, like you can add components. So let's go through this a little bit. And arrow right now is a sprite, which means it's just a drawing, just a bunch of pixels. It doesn't mean anything. In order for it to be able to interact with things in the object, with gravity, wind, what you need is to tell the Unity that hey, this is an object that can move around. So how do you do that? One thing that you need in order to do that is use the render rigid body 2D option. You use rigid body 2D, which basically means that your object will now respond to the laws of physics. Actually, let's see what happens. Let's remove rigid body for now. Let's simulate the screen, which means click on the play here at the top. Now let's see what happens. You can see the game. You can, if you go to simulator, you can see the arrow, but it's not much else. The arrow is just static. Now let's add rigid body 2D. Furthermore, let's move this inside this box so that we can see the whole thing. This is still a little bit too big, I think 0.5. That's alright, let's keep it 0.45 for now. Maybe we'll go with 0.4 later on. Yeah, so what we have got is now rigid body 2D, and the body type is dynamic. Let's click on play button now and see what happens. What I'm expecting is that the arrow should now respond to the gravity and fall down. So let's see, it's too close to the bottom, so yes, if you were able to catch that, the arrow was at the bottom and it fell down. In case you were not able to catch that, let me just move it to the top and let's press play again. And there you go, it responded to gravity and fell down. So now you have an arrow that's responding to gravity. However, there's one more component that's missing right now. The arrow will not interact with other objects because it doesn't have an outline, it doesn't know that it can collide with others. For that, there's literally a component called collider. So we'll be adding a collider now for something as complicated. So they've got different shapes like box, capsule, circle. What I would recommend is that you use the polygon collider for arrow. Unity is smart and it will automatically discover the shape of the arrow, and you have collider body 2D. If you had another object which is a also has a collider 2D, then the two will now collide and stop. And I'm running out of the battery as well, so I think that's pretty perfect time. In this video we were able to learn how to start a new project, add a new asset, and even add properties like rigid body 2D and collider to the asset. That's it for this video, and like, subscribe, all that good stuff for more gaming content. Thank you.